Mother hid the truth. The diary revealed everything. I always thought my mother was the kind of woman who couldn't keep a secret if her life depended on it. She gossiped about the neighbors' affairs, never missed a chance to tell me what my teachers had said in confidence, and even once ruined my father's surprise birthday party by accidentally mentioning the cake. So, the idea that she might have been hiding something from me for years seemed absurd, until the day I found the diary. It was a Tuesday, one of those wet, gray afternoons when the clouds sit so low they seem to press the air out of your lungs. I had returned to the old house after her funeral to start the painful process of sorting her belongings. Dad had died years ago, and I was an only child. There was no one else to share the burden of deciding which memories to keep and which to send away in cardboard boxes. The attic was the last place I planned to check. I had been avoiding it because of the dust, the spiders, and the memories. The narrow staircase creaked under my weight as I climbed, my head brushing against cobwebs. The place smelled of old wood and mothballs, like time had been locked away up there. I was shifting a box of my childhood drawings when something caught my eye, an old leather-bound notebook wedged between a chest of drawers and the wall. The leather was cracked, the pages yellowed. On the cover, in faded gold letters, was one word, Eleanor, my mother's name. I hesitated. It felt wrong to read it, like opening a door to a room I had no right to enter. But grief and curiosity are powerful allies. My hands shook as I opened the first page. April 12, 1985. He came again today. He said he couldn't stop thinking about me. I told him it had to stop, but my heart wouldn't listen. I frowned. 1985, that was 3 years before I was born. The writing was rushed, emotional. My mother had never told me about anyone before Dad. She always said he was her first love, her only love. But as I read, a different picture began to emerge. The entries told the story of a young woman in her 20s, caught in an affair with a man she only referred to as A. They met in secret, by the lake, behind the diner where she worked nights, in the back of his car under the cover of darkness. As the weeks passed in the diary, the tone shifted. There was joy, but also fear. She wrote about the gossip in town, the danger of being seen, the constant worry that she would find out. June 2, 1985. He says he'll leave her. But promises are easy when the sun is setting and you're holding each other like the world might end. I don't know what to believe anymore. I was leaning so close to the pages that I could smell the faint scent of her perfume, as if the ink had trapped it there. And then, I found the entry that stopped my breath. September 14, 1985. I'm late. I know what it means. I haven't told him yet. How can I? If he leaves her now, they'll all know. They'll hate me. But if I don't tell him, I'll have to raise this child alone. I stared at the page until the words blurred. My heart pounded in my ears. September 1985. I had been born in June 1986. It didn't take a mathematician to see the truth. I turned page after page, desperate to know more. She never wrote his full name, never any obvious clue to his identity, until I reached the last entry about him. October 8, 1985. I told him. He said it changes everything. But not the way I hoped. He's staying with her. He says it's for the child's sake, meaning hers, not ours. He said if I keep the baby, he can't be in our lives. I told him I don't need him. I don't know if that's true, but I said it anyway. The next entry was months later, about my first kicks, her cravings for oranges, and the way the winter snow made her feel less alone. There was nothing else about A. She never wrote his name. I sat there for hours, reading her fears, her small joys, her loneliness. By the time I reached the last page, the light in the attic had turned the color of dying embers. For days, I carried the diary everywhere, hidden in my bag like a talisman. My mind wouldn't stop circling the same questions. Who was A? Did Dad know? Did anyone know? And the question that scared me most, was the man I called Dad actually my father? The truth wouldn't let me sleep. I started digging. I pulled out old yearbooks, newspaper clippings, photos. I called my mother's best friend from back then, Aunt Ruth, though she wasn't really my aunt. We met for coffee. She looked older than I remembered, her hair more silver than gold, but her eyes were still sharp. When I mentioned 1985, I saw something flicker across her face. She stirred her coffee slowly. "Ruth," I said, "did my mother ever see someone before Dad?" She gave a small, sad smile. "Your mother was beautiful, you know." Men noticed. But there was one man, tall, dark hair, a smile that could charm the devil. He was married. And trouble. My pulse quickened. "Do you remember his name?" Her spoon clinked against the cup. I promised her I wouldn't tell. Some secrets die with people, and maybe that's for the best. But as she reached for her coat, she paused. "Your mother was a good woman, Eleanor. She loved you more than anything. Remember that." It was both an answer and not an answer. The next breakthrough came by accident. I was flipping through an old photo album when I saw it, a picture of my mother at a town fair, laughing, holding a caramel apple. Behind her, half turned toward the camera, was a man with his arm around another woman. He was tall, dark-haired, and even blurred, his smile seemed dangerous. On the back of the photo, in my mother's handwriting, was the year, 1985. I scanned his face into my mind like a blueprint. That night, I searched through the local library's digitized archives. It didn't take long. He appeared in an old article about a charity event, standing next to his wife, a local councilman named Andrew Pierce. Andrew. The realization hit like ice water down my spine. I looked up more about him. He had 2 children, both older than me. His wife had died years ago. He was still alive, still living in the same town, just a few streets away. I couldn't decide if I wanted to scream or knock on his door. It took me 3 days to gather the courage. I stood outside his house, my palms sweating, my breath shallow. The door opened before I knocked. He was older, of course. His hair was gray, but his eyes, those eyes, were exactly the same as in the photograph. "Yes?" he asked, polite but guarded. I swallowed hard. "My name is Claire. My mother was Eleanor." For a moment, something in his face shifted. A recognition, quickly hidden. "I'm sorry for your loss," he said carefully. I took the diary from my bag and held it out to him. "I found this. She wrote about you." He didn't take it. His jaw tightened. "You shouldn't believe everything you read. She said she was pregnant. In 1985. Silence. Finally, he sighed, looking not at me but past me, as if watching a memory play in the distance. "Your mother was extraordinary. But I made my choice a long time ago." "So it's true," I whispered. He looked at me then, and I saw it, the same green flecks in his irises that I saw in the mirror every morning. "I can't change the past," he said softly. "But she gave you a good life. That's what matters." I left without another word. That night, I read the diary again, but this time, I noticed things I hadn't before, the way she described my first laugh, the nights she stayed up sewing tiny dresses, the sacrifices she made so I could go to a good school. Maybe she had hidden the truth to protect me, or maybe to protect herself. Maybe both. I closed the diary for the last time and placed it in a box labeled Keep. Not because I needed the mystery solved, but because it was a part of her, a part of us. The truth had been hidden, but it had also been written, waiting for me to find it. And now that I had, I realized something: my mother was right. Some things matter more than knowing everything.